with me.
Welcome back to another episode of Rocks with Me. This is your girl Roxy, and I'm joined today by someone like super special that is all the way like thousands of miles away, but yet like super close connection. It's Patricia Estrada. I had to use, my Spanish accent because it's a beautiful name.
You so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Names are important. Like, and living here, I always because if I'm speaking English, I say it in English, but I love it when I'm when I'm with other people who speak Spanish and I can say it the way it's supposed to be said. But in Italian, I say Patricia with a cha, like because it's like C is this cha sound, and their Patricia is Patrizia with a Z.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's just like, just to dive right into like all the assimilating type of things. Like, so thank you for saying Patricia Estrada, because yes, that's how my parents would say it. So, hi.
Of course. And fun fact, she's actually the sister of Vero Estrada, who you guys heard time and time again.
The life coach, the self-love expert.
Yes. Now, I kind of want to take a guess. Are you older than her?
No, I'm actually younger. Just like a
Oh.
couple years, less than 2 years.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason,
Well,
I don't know. I thought she was like the baby of the
just because
family.
I'm over, yeah, just because I'm off over here married and I mean, like, living abroad, like, but she was the boss first. So
So, Patricia is actually living overseas in Florence, Italy, and she was able to make time to come on and let me, talk with her and have her on my podcast. And I'm super excited because hearing her story and everything, it's just like, dang, girl, like you have this like seamless way of making it seem like it's nothing.
like when when do I make it seem like nothing? Because I feel like I'm so dramatic, and maybe I am, right? Like when people who spend a lot of time with me, maybe I am a little dramatic, but at the same time, like I really go in. I kind of go into a shell somehow, or just like into my own little world, and I just kind of like avoid people for a long time, and so people don't see the hard part, right? But I'm happy to talk about it. I'm always happy because we need to talk about how like but life is not just super easy and wonderful, and you just all of a sudden wake up and you're a mindful, thoughtful, kind, joyful person. Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to discuss that, and for also you sharing yours so vulnerably. So yay.
Oh, thank you. Now, me and Patricia met virtually at a self love workshop that her sister, the life coach, Vero Estrada, hosted, which was like so awesome. I'm sure she opens it up to everybody, but at that workshop specifically, it was just females in that workshop. And it felt like so like empowering to hear everybody's stories that were in there and like you chiming in and stuff. And the words you were saying, it was just like,
Maybe too much.
okay. No, I was like, okay,
I was
I
like, oh no,
see.
sister, I'm not trying to step on your toes.
No, because you were spitting
Move.
out gems, and I was like, damn, it must be something
Because of her, like she's been like so clutch to my growth and my healing and everything, and she started first. And if you watch the show that we did, like, which we can briefly touch on later, like you'll see that she was ahead of me, and I thought a lot of the things she did were dumb sometimes. Like I thought affirmations were dumb. I thought reparenting was sounded dumb as hell. Like I thought it made you sound weak. Like I didn't realize, right? Of course, like now in retrospect, I like understand what I thought. But anyway, so yeah, Veronica was ahead. So thank you, though. I'm glad that you liked my 2 cents, my 10 cents, maybe.
But yeah, but you made a very good point right now. Like, because I saw myself there too. Like, oh my gosh, it's so cliche to say like I am beautiful. I love myself. I am this.
Yes.
Like all these affirmations and the whole reparenting, especially like at the beginning, I was like, yo, I was like, okay, this is dumb. Like, but then
Mm-hmm. I don't. Yep.
once you do the actual work, you see how, wow, like this is like kind of a necessity in a sense to like be able to like strive in your own passions and
Yeah.
stuff.
To not talked about a lot, but yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, well, maybe it is now, but it wasn't at one point, like when we were growing up. And so we didn't have that. That's why we're so vocal about it now, because it's like, wow, I could have felt better all this time, you know? So yeah, thank you so much for having both of us.
Yeah, and maybe in the future, because I like love your energy and I love your sister's energy. Maybe in the future I could have you both on at the same time. Like,
Oh my gosh.
that would be such an awesome episode. I'm sure the listeners would appreciate it. But let's get back to you because you, even though you're
Thanks.
in Florence, Italy right now, you grew up Cali, in between
LA.
Koreatown and South LA,
Yeah.
which sounds pretty tough as to have been growing up in that kind of
Yeah.
environment.
Okay. Like I have to calm myself down for a second because I love talking about this. You know, the fact that I live all the way over here and I'm so far from Latino culture out here, like it's really hard. And then of course, like the specific Latino culture that I'm talking about, you know, is like very integrated, like LA culture that exists that people know, right? And I actually, when I was there last year in 2022, had a gimbal and I like recorded all this content of all the places. And I would want to put it out like kind of like a little like autobiography documentary type thing. Just because, you know, I was born in New York. When I was like not even months old, my parents moved to LA, and then I grew up there for 20 years, and then they moved to Atlanta when I was 20, and it was like the crisis. And then, you know, I graduated school, you know, anyway, that's the whole nutshell of my life, and we can get into that later. But living in LA, we moved around a lot. It was dangerous. It was really common to have like cars broken into. Like I realized coming here that I like had never felt safe.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so that was rough. But I remember always like feeling safe with my parents. My mom is a badass, and like of course that comes with a lot of things. But anyway, again, like it's very easy for me to just like kind of go off on a million tangents. So that's all I'm gonna say about living in LA and South Central and moving a lot. But I do miss it. You know, as rough as it may have been, you know, it's very clear here that I am other, you know, and so I've had to really embrace that because their brain doesn't compute. They're like, you're American? Like, but where are you really from? And I had to learn to not be offended by that question every single time because there were times when people were genuinely just curious and then I was triggered and I would like have a really feisty response and the person was very confused and like I mean but that happened a lot. That happens a lot when you move to another country and you're like speaking a different language or like even your own language but maybe they don't get the inflection or like the sarcasm or whatever, you know. And so to learn to answer that question like just like very genuinely. I'm actually going to get tattoos, so if my mom sees this, like, sorry, Mom, I'm going to get them. I've already decided. It's been a very long time trying to figure out what. Just decided to do Los Angeles, El Salvador, because that's what I always have to tell people. It's like, where are you from? And like, I know that they like, sometimes I know that they want to know, like, where am I from?
Right.
But I always like, I mean, I'm from LA. I have Salvadorian blood and I love my Salvadorian roots. But like, if there's anything that like moving here and like having to fit in or whatever, make my life here, if there's one thing that I learned, it's that like, God, I'm like, my brain's like, bitch, there is not just one thing that you learned. Like, what are you about to say? What's the one thing? Anyway, people are gonna ask, and they're gonna be, and they're not, and sometimes they might be being like racist in some way, but I feel like that's a lot more rare than we think it is, right? Like it really has to do with like how we feel, and even if the person is being racist, you're just like, oh, pobrecito, like that person must have such a like they must be so sad to be like, so hateful, right?
It's a them problem
now, right? Right. I literally shared a story with a quote like that today. Literally, so same page. But yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up because again, I can ramble. So please stop me at will.
No, it's okay because it's not like you're saying things that are like out of context or anything. It's just everything has connections to like who you are,
and it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure, and it's just empowering to see how you've flipped the script, so to say, in your mind. So that way it's not so much like a you versus them type of mentality.
Yeah, like combative every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like it's going to happen. And like, I can't let other people's anything affect my peace. right? I really just had to learn that, like, no matter what, if somebody is being racist to me, like, okay, again, like I said, now that, like, after all this time, I can be compassionate and say pobrecito. Before, I'd have to just be like reminding myself, like, don't cuss them out. They're just dumb. They're just stupid. They don't understand. They don't know. You know what I mean? Which is still true. And sometimes I do still go revert to that. But, now most of the time I'm just like, you know, and so I even had like business cards made like that. I'm like, you want to put me in a box? Like, this is the box designed in El Salvador, made in the USA.
I love
And then
it.
like, okay, hold on. We got to this. I'm going to read it now. Like, I'll read it in Italian and then I'll translate it. So it's ciao, sono Patricia, un inesaurabile carica di energia. Sono nata a New York e cresciuta a Los Angeles. I miei genitori sono di El Salvador, America Centrale. Abbraccio le sfide. And then I put my Instagram handle as Esmeralda's Road. So it says like, hi, I'm Patricia. I'm an inexhaustible charge of energy. Okay.
Love it.
Like, and that's the way. I don't remember how I wanted to say it in English. Like, I wanted to say something else. Like, I think I wanted to say like I'm a force of nature or something like that. I don't remember, but like in Italian, I just like that's what I chose to say to the way, because it doesn't translate always. And so then I was like, born in New York, raised in LA. My parents are from El Salvador, Central America, because they're always thinking straight. They always go to Brazil, right? Because there's Salvador,
Okay.
Brazil, and then I just say abbraccio le sfide, which is like I embrace challenges. That's how often I get asked,
Yeah.
where are you from? Where are you really from? That I like took the time to make this. And now I'm going to get the tattoos. Part of me that I just have to pay homage to it or something.
I love the fact that you're actually honoring your ancestors, who you are, who like what made you, because we see it all the time where there's people that like end up changing things about them or changing who they are just to fit into the culture they're surrounded by.
Yeah. And I was guilty of that at one point for sure. And it's normal, right? For it to happen. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that and it's something that like you now you're like showing this like pride where you're just no longer phased by anybody like
Ashamed. Yeah. No, there's no more shame. There used to be shame.
yes.
I said it.
It's the truth though.
So we have a little bit of a delay. I just have to say it because like I want to say things, but then I don't know if you're about to speak, and so then I'm like and I'm letting you be the host because like I said, I just tend to like blah 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 blah.
And that's fine too. Like by all means.
Okay, because and then there's also a lot of questions I imagine. So like, okay, let me just like, okay, I'll tell you my life story. How about that?
Go for it.
I'll try. Let me see. Let me put a timer. So it's okay. We got, I don't know, like, I don't want to go too long. I grew up in LA and I've already like, mentioned that in 2008, when I was 20, my parents moved to Atlanta because of the crisis. They had two houses and the one was there. And that's why my dad like decided to go there because the one in LA was I mean, honestly, it was in a nice part of Crenshaw. Like it was so adjacent to like the Black Beverly Hills, it was right fucking there. Just like across Crenshaw, like on Crenshaw, instead of going right, you go left to go to our house,
Yeah.
which is where like all the ghetto was, right? Like the hood. But it was like such a nice house and such a nice place, but it was like a lot smaller, a lot older. So we moved to Atlanta. Then it was horrible for a while. And then I met a guy. I ignored all the red flags. I stayed with him for a year, but then I was just like, okay, this guy needs a savior. And I don't even know about any of that right now because I was like 22. So like, I was like, I'm going to go. And so then I graduated from Georgia State University with a bachelor's in marketing and international business. And I hadn't had a chance to study abroad. So I went to do an internship in Brazil that was supposed to be a marketing internship. And it turned out to be an English teaching internship. Like their idea of marketing was like, oh, we have a native English speaking teacher. And then of course that was the beginning of that whole like, you're American, like that was the beginning of me like being ostracized, literally. Like,
Yeah.
and it was flattering sometimes, of course, but then when it's like day in, day out, and then also when you come across people who are, maybe going through it in their lives. Because I always think that anybody who's an asshole, I just feel they have to be going through it. And maybe it's because of their own causing, but that still just means that they are having a bad life And so like, because if you're having, like if you're doing that, it just means that you're suffering, right? Taking it out on fucking strangers, people you come across every day. So the point is that you come across people like that sometimes, and I hadn't done all this healing yet when I lived over there, so I was just like triggered sometimes, and I just felt so other and also very like exoticized, and which is hard to happen in Brazil, right? Because it's such an exotic country in and of itself. Like I feel like the people that would maybe not be so offended if you call them exotic, because I feel like they own it and they like it, whereas like us maybe like Latinas that grew up in the US, right? I assume you grew up in the US.
Yeah.
So we don't like to be called exotic, right? The point is that that was my experience in Brazil. It was there for a year. I had lived there for most of it. And it was like March, and I was going to leave in May. Right. And so I had been there already almost a full, however long it was, 9 months, whatever. I'm horrible at math. Don't keep it moving. So anyway, I was there, and then at my birthday party, at a surprise birthday party, Salvatore, my husband, his business partner's wife, had just started teaching at my school that I was teaching at, and she spoke like 5 languages, and I was just like, wow, dang. Like, because I was learning Portuguese, and so that was my 3rd language, and I was like feeling like, wow, this is so amazing, like knowing languages is so cool, and then she spoke 5, so I was like, oh my god, I was like all on her. And I had seen Salvatore, he came with her with the kid, like helping her with the kids, but her kids were hella blonde. So I was like, my husband is like my color. So I'm like, I don't think those are his kids. I didn't know that there was a surprise birthday party happening. So I was like trying to get people to hang out with me. I was like, hey, like, it's my birthday, like, and nobody's available. Like, can somebody hang out with me? And she came, like, she was new. So I was like, hey, like, I'm going to try to get people to go to this bar. I was like, this is what I'm doing. And then luckily the person who was planning it heard, and then they came and told her later that. And then so she came to the party with like her husband, her children, and Salvatore. Like, so that's where we met. One day I'll write out or video out or interview something with him, like the full like trajectory of our 6 weeks together there. I think that would be really, really fun. But for the sake of time here, the rest is history. I moved here basically, like he tried to go to the US, but when he tried to apply for the business visa instead of just the normal visa, because he wanted to come to the US for like as long as possible, he was like, well, if I'm going to fucking buy a ticket and like change my whole life. He's like, I want to go for more than 3 months. So he applied for this visa, the business visa, which is one he has now because we're married, but neither here nor there. The point is back then, he when he went to the interview, he was super honest and told the guy that he was like head over heels in love with this woman he just met, and that I had invited him to come stay with him, and so he just wanted to go see what that was about. Talk about pure, right? Like,
yeah,
he didn't think that was going to be a problem to say that, right? Bless his little heart. So that's what happened.
But that's how he's head over heels for you, because he was like, I'm not denying it.
Girl, he got blacklisted immediately. They were like, no. And not only that, now every time we go, he's like, they'd question him because there's a mark on it.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
But anyway, hold on. So here's how I really fucking knew he was in love with me, because he got up, he left, and the next thing he fucking knew, he woke up on the floor and he had broken 4 teeth because he had fucking passed out, jaw to the floor, fucking passed out inside of the US consulate. Okay. And like, this story is confirmed because not only did he send me pictures of like when he sent me pictures of him in the ambulance with like his, like the fucking thing on his head. And he's like, baby, don't worry. And then went dark. Like he didn't respond for like 24 hours. So obviously like how could I not at least come visit him? Right. So I came to visit him. My parents were so funny. My mom was, I think she knew that I knew what I was doing. Like I think she knows who she raised, right? Even back then, she already knew. And so she was okay, but my dad was a little bit more scared. My dad's really, really sweet. He's not like a fighter at all. Like, I mean, when he was young, like he would protect us, but like nowadays, he's not a fighter at all. He's like, I'm not stupid. So anyway, that's straight up his accent too. We have this ongoing joke when I came, like my dad was like, don't let him take your passport. Make sure you always have your passport close to you. Like, I was like,
Oh
and
my
so, and so
gosh.
now I literally got my Italian citizenship this year and I got my passport earlier this year and I sent him a video. I was like, Dad, look, don't worry. He's just giving me extra passports.
That's hilarious.
So that's how I ended up here. And, when I first moved here, it was really crazy because I was kind of floundering because I spoke 3.5 languages. I had an American, degree, like bachelor's degree in business. I was like, I'll find something so fast. Like I always, because in the US, like I'm like I always have a job lined up, no matter, you know what I mean? Like no matter
Yeah.
what it is, even if it is just serving in the US, you can make hella money like serving, doing that kind of job. And then you put that on your resume and you could still go get a job in corporate. They'll see it as life experience. They'll see it as this person knows what the fuck is up. Right.
Hmm.
So like my husband was very clear with me about like, do not apply to any service industry jobs here because it's very much unspoken that it is like a category of people and you do
Oh,
not
wow.
move, you know. I always say like, and I like, let me like, this is my quote, please. Aristocracy is alive and well in Florence, Italy. Like it is very evident if you're looking for it, and I look for it because I came from the bottom, you
Right.
know, and like, so I don't judge myself by their system because I'm at the bottom in their system. Like in my system, we're all the fucking same because my mom used to always say, like, todos vamos a tener el mismo hoyo en la tierra, like we're all going
Hmm.
to end up buried 6 feet under, but it is very apparent, right? Like the kind, and so like in my resume, I couldn't like he discouraged my putting my restaurant work on there. And he didn't want me to work, even apply for like hotel jobs, that like, because there's a lot of that. Like I could have easily gotten one of those jobs, but everything here is about like appearances. It's like a
Mm.
big old Latina lady type of culture. Like very much like el que dirán, like everybody like no se lavan los trapos sucios afuera. So like people don't ever
Yeah.
talk about their like struggles, or like if they do, they're seen as weak. Sometimes they are weak because they don't have the tools, right? They haven't been given the tools to know how to handle the things that they have handled, right? And there's a lot of that. And like my husband living here and being from the South, he's lived here for 25, next year is 25 years. And I'm trying to throw him a party. I don't know if he's gonna watch this. Throwing a party.
That's funny.
Like 25 years, a long time. And not only that, like I just really, and again, for another time and to delve deeper, like I have so many stories I need to tell because he's treated like an immigrant
Yeah.
here in his
That's
own country.
crazy.
And they just accept it. They don't even question it. They're just like, yeah, it sucks. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, but we can like, no, dismantle, please. Like, and so I very much embraced my ruggedness, and like,
Mhm.
I try to like, I've refined my look a lot, and I fit in well in society here. And everybody's intrigued by me. And if you're fucking watching this and you live here, you fucking know you are because I fucking see y'all watching me. Because Florence is this big, okay? I've lived here for almost 8 years. Florence is this big. You will see somebody somewhere, even if you're a fucking hour away at the beach, walking along the goddamn road of some random ass little town. You will see somebody that you fucking straight up know and do not want to see. But like, it's very normal here because it's like I said, this big. So anyway, it's very interesting here about like apariencias and like racism straight up, just like racism and sexism really hard. It's so ingrained that they just don't even think that it's a problem a lot of the times. Like, in the US, like if you tell somebody like, oh, hey, it's not cool to joke about that anymore, they'll at least like get it, even if they don't like
Mhm.
it. Here, they haven't gotten there yet. And
Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. That's where I live, And so I've had to learn to deal with it. So,
That's
woo, there, I
crazy.
rambled.
No, but it's just it shows like you just expressed everything. Like you gave us the cliff notes of things because like you said, I'm sure there's so many stories in between that like
Girl.
impact like where you're at now, you know?
Let me tell you, when I first moved here, like I was starting to say this and then I got totally sidetracked. I was floundering because I couldn't find work that was like feasible, suitable, whatever. And so I was like, fine, I'll look into anything that, that like, for example, anything that's a cash. It's like, okay, like he was like, yeah, sure, babysit, that's fine. Right. So I like
Mhm.
started babysitting. I started looking for those kinds of jobs. And then I met the person who then became my business partner. Was looking for someone to help her like start this babysitting association where we would connect families with native English speaking babysitters here in Florence. And like the reason that I decided to do this with her was because she offered, number one, of course, but I saw so much potential. So I did that for 3.5 years and it was hard as hell. I really wanted to see a profit before I left it. But actually, like, and it's coming up, and I really need to like write, like, start my blog or something because October 31st, like Halloween, in 2019, like I already knew that I had this like cyst and like some fibroids. I knew I had that, and I had to get it removed, but like I had been busy, and so I was like, and nobody made it seem like it was an emergency, right? That I needed to
Right.
get it out. So I was just like, let me get through because we had a summer camp that year, and then we were doing really good. We were really picking up. And so then like in October, like on Halloween, it was like, always like a really great event opportunity. And we had 25 children signed up to come to this event, which is really good for like the small little space that we had. And it was all organized. I was so pumped that I was like, wow, like we're really finally starting to get this down. And that morning I wake up and I'm like writhing in pain. And like I wait like 15 minutes before Salvatore calls the ambulance. Like he wanted to call the ambulance after like 5 minutes, but like my American traumatized brain was like, no, don't call the ambulance. Like it's not free here. so, and so,
That's
so, so like I was writhing in pain for 15 minutes, like just like doubled over, couldn't handle it. And then finally, like he called and then I went to the hospital. He couldn't come in with me and I could barely communicate. So like not anyway, the point is that I left the babysitting association because once I went to the ER for that, like, okay, at that point, I was already like, whoa, what's going on? Like, how could this have happened? And like, it was because of stress that like it was causing me all this pain. When I was in the ambulance, I was telling Salvatore to call my business partner and tell her that I would be there by like that I was going to the hospital, but that I was like, I should be out by 4. I should be there, no problem. Like I was in the hospital for 2 nights, bitch. So sorry. I was trying to see that project through till there was a profit. Like we wanted to
Yeah.
sell it, as a business. And I had already told my business partner that I was like, well, listen, I think I'm burnt the fuck out. I don't think I could do this anymore. And she was blindsided. And I didn't even realize how badly I didn't want to do it anymore, because I just kept telling myself, you just got to see it through till there's a profit, and because I really believed that there would be, and
Yeah.
so we did get a third person that was really great. And I'm actually still friends with both of them. And so they're still doing it, but it's very much like a self-sustaining type of thing. It's like, right, they're just like, they're having a good time with what they're doing. They're very proud and it's like, it works for them, but it's just different than what we had in mind originally. And so I'm so glad that I ended up leaving when I did, because I obviously needed to rest and do things and think about myself
Hmm.
in Italy, in Florence. So like I didn't know who I was without them. And like I had
Yeah.
also been like put into this category because I was constantly like up and down like the streets all over the place, like hosting events, like mobile events. So I was always with like all these bags of like materials, and like I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was just like, hell yeah, I got a bicycle, I got a front basket, I got a back like package holder. Like I was like, I can do anything on a bicycle. Like and I still got my driver's license really fast, like compared to a lot of people that live here. Like I immediately started like trying to get my driver's license, but I still enjoyed bike riding. And so but now looking back, I was like, wow, like I was still, even though I was like the business owner, I was still very much in a category of like service type of people. Right now, I'm just very much leaning into my, like, I dress for the life that I live. If you think I'm dressed up, like, I don't know, what am I supposed to tell you? Like, why don't you just dress up? Like,
Yeah.
like, why do I have to have an excuse? Like, I can do this. This is actually my life. I don't have to pretend, like that I don't have nice things or save them for some special occasion. Literally, like I live in a place where I can go to the Duomo right now and there will be like at least 30 to 40 people like taking pictures, like taking videos, doing tours. Like, I don't care because I learned, to accept like what is. I cannot be mad at the tourists. They're always going to be here. I just have to
Yeah.
be thankful that I live here, and they are just trying to enjoy it the one time that they're here, or like the few times that they are here. And like, if I'm going to be going through the center, like, I know that I'm going to encounter people who are in the way. I might have to get off my bicycle. There might be like a traffic jam because there's like a horse in the middle of the way. Like, this is normal stuff. And people that live here, sometimes they still get mad at those things, which, like, yeah, sure. Like, of course, like, I'm not saying that something can't be annoying. And sometimes, of course, I am annoyed. But most of the time, like, I'm not going to be complaining every single day I go out this door,
Yeah.
because I can, if I choose to just like see all the fucking bad stuff, all the assholes and like people who don't pick up their dog do and like whatever. But like, nah, So anyway,
I love it. I'm loving everything about it. Like, you are living the life, which is, I'm all for it, honestly. I did want to touch on some of the things you did mention. Like, I got to give you mad kudos for recognizing the red flags in that relationship you were in when you were 22, because that's like at a
yeah.
turning point in your life already, because you're
So
young.
let me tell, like, if anybody who's young that's watching this, I didn't know. Here's what happened. It's hindsight is always 2020, right? And so I had been single for like 2 years when I moved there. And I was really, really miserable because my parents had moved to like the suburbs and I didn't know Atlanta. And I would try to go to Atlanta by myself, but like, if you don't know it, it's kind of like LA. Like, you can just end up in some random place, that is like not even cool. You don't have a good time, or potentially dangerous.
Mm.
And so, I mean, I knew how to handle myself and I knew how to get in and out of those things, but I was just kind of like really lonely and like sad and all the things. And then I met this guy and he was like really, like, the red flags were like the fact that he was very affectionate right away. And that he even said, "I love you." Like, I think 2 weeks is generous. I think he said it before that.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't say it back, and like, I remember now that like a part of me was just kind of like, oh, and I just like kissed him or something, like, so that like, I didn't want to like, whatever. I mean, I was having a good time with him, but then he became extremely, not became, he always was very like clingy, and
Yeah.
since I had been alone for 2 years, I welcomed that at the beginning. And I also clung to him. And then as time went on, he would do really different things. Like, he needed help. He had, I don't know what he had, but they didn't acknowledge it outright. Rest in peace. He actually died, and I actually don't know how he died. Last year when I was there, I gave his dad a box of things that I had of his, like, not of his, but a lot of pictures. Just like, I had taken so many pictures. I mean, we were a beautiful couple. Like, he was hot. And I was looking great, like, and saying I don't look good now, but like, when you're
Yeah, yeah,
22, like,
yeah.
it's different.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
but I wanted to say that because like I was with him for like a year, and or like just over a year, and he had a tattoo of his ex on him. On his arm, he had like a Brazilian flag, and it said like, "I love," like, I think her name, whatever her name was. And so that was really huge. And like, that was weird, right? Like, already he wanted to get a tattoo of like our initials on this ring, a finger on his finger. And I was just like, why don't you get the date we met in Roman numerals? Like, and we had been together at that point for, I guess, a while. Like, I mean, for him to be getting, I mean, like a few months at least, I
Yeah.
mean, and he had other tattoos. So it wasn't like whatever. So, I mean, again, huge red flag, right? I should have known, that I didn't want, that I wasn't, that he was way too serious about this, right? And like, that I wasn't there, and that he was being a little bit extreme. I should have, like, now, right? Of course, my 35-year-old self, and how, I don't know however old you are, but like, now that we've gone through some shit, like, we're like, oh yeah, no, that's a problem. So like, thank you for giving me kudos before, but like I have to tell you the nitty gritty of it is all of that, you know? And then
Yeah.
I like then the way that I broke up with him, I'm not proud of, but my friend was having a New Year's Eve party and he wasn't allowed because he had made a fool of himself the last time. And so then like I just told him once we didn't have plans, I was like, listen, I'm just gonna go to my friend's party. And he was like, so I guess that means that we're not together anymore or like that we're breaking up. And I was like, I guess it does. And then he just walked out. He walked out. And when he walked out, when he left, it was guttural. It just came out of me. I just said, thank, thank God.
That's crazy.
It was guttural. And I think he must have heard me. And that's the part that I'm not proud of, that I
Right.
actually just never talked to him again after that. Like those things I'm not proud of, but like I didn't know. I didn't have the tools, right? I didn't know how to deal with like that kind of thing or my own emotions about it and all the things. So again, thank you for the kudos, but like that is how that went down, you know? And so I'm sharing it because, you know, I'm not a bad person. I didn't mean to hurt him and he didn't mean to hurt me, I'm sure, you know, but just like when you don't know how to like handle, you know, whatever it is that's going on within you, whether it's like with therapy, whether it's on your own, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your like religious community, you know, if you don't have a way to process what you go through, even if you had a perfect upbringing, you know, but you still have anxiety or whatever, you have
Yeah.
to allow yourself to feel those things and then understand like, okay, what is this really? And then like have the ability to sit still and be like, where does this come from? Like, when is the first time I remember feeling this way? Right. And so like I've only been able to do all this healing through therapy because when I moved here, it was just a lot, right? And then with him,
Mm,
he was my only person here. So everything that I was going through, I was kind of dumping on him. And then
okay.
one day I got pickpocketed on the bus because I never rode the bus. And I got very like comfortable living here because I never rode the
Yeah.
bus. So I wasn't on it. And it was like bad things never really happened. I had been living here for like 2 years. So it was January 2018. And then there was like a sale on betterhelp.com. And I got fucking therapy because of the way that I handled that situation. And I told the story on one of my episodes. I'll go find it somewhere and share it with you later. But that's when I started therapy back in 2018, and I got very lucky that I found the right person the first time. Like I got very lucky because I know that a lot of times people need to find more, like they need to try more than one. And like, but I have heard really great things from other people who have had to find more than one. So please don't be discouraged if you have to
Yeah.
do that. You know, just for anybody else who's listening. But for me, I got really lucky. And then I've been still with her all this time, you know, and even when I'm doing okay, I like to see her just because like the reason that I'm feeling okay is because I get to regularly process that what I'm going through with her, even if it's good stuff, you know, because
Yes.
even when there's a good things, sometimes there's an avalanche of good things. And that means that if you don't have the tools to deal with what that means, like when you have an avalanche of good things, you know, for example, in May, my one of my really good friends was getting married, and so like I had a week. I was her like personal assistant for that week. Like we bartered services, and like so I was on the clock and I was helping her. But then like that following weekend, we were doing this huge road trip because I have a classic mini. I love my classic mini. I'll send you a picture if you want to include it. Several pictures because we love road trips. So we had this huge road trip from like Como to like Valpolicella, like wine country, and then stop in Modena to sleep, like to have an aperitivo, to dinner, sleep, and then the next day go to lunch and go to a car. We went to two car museums, and one day I had private tours, like back to the avalanche of good things, right? So like May, I had my friend's wedding, so like that week was insane. I was like trying to recover, but like then I had to get ready for like that weekend because it started in the weekend, but we were driving back, so that was the whole week. And then
Right.
when we came back, we had a 4-day event. Our mini club is like they were the ones organizing it, and so that means
Hmm.
that we were there kind of like grunt work, you know. And like not only that, a friend of mine had decided to come visit, like a really, really good college friend of mine had decided to come visit. He lives in Berlin and we've been wanting to see each other for a long time. And I was like, okay, like you can come stay in my apartment, like while we're not there when we're at this like mini
Yeah.
event. And then he was still going to be here when we got back. So I was like, I'll just hang out with you when we get back.
Hmm.
Well, I had been waiting for a surgery for a year and a half. Okay. Because it's free. So universal health
You
care comes with its downsides. If it's not an emergency, you wait, you know? And so then if
okay?
it becomes an emergency, then you get pushed to the front of the line, which is why it takes longer for people who don't have an emergency, right? And so
Yeah.
like, of course, if your situation becomes one, you'll be taken care of, but it's still annoying because I had been waiting for 1 year and 8 months. Okay. The first day of this tour, they call me and they're like, your surgery's on Monday.
Just
Like,
like that.
like, and I said, what if I can't make it? They're like, okay, well, you're going to have to wait till like November, December. And like, if you wait till November, December, you're risking it to go into the holidays. And my sister's getting married in March, which I'll see you at.
I'm
Manifesting.
working on it. I know. Yes, yes.
So we're manifesting, we're calling it. It's going to happen. So I was like, no, like I can't risk that happening. And so I was like, okay. And so like avalanche of good things, right? Because yes, it's surgery and it's kind of whatever. It was a big deal, but of course, like it was good that it was happening because I've been waiting for so long, right? So like it just turned out to be like, and not only that, how serendipitous, like that I'm even talking about this right now because like, so I had the surgery, like I ended up like doing all these things to just like hang out with my friends and do all the things. And then I got the surgery and then I was knocked out because like I did not realize I had fibroids and they like had to, it wasn't just like with the camera where they just puff up your stomach and they go in there with like the little thingies. They actually had to
Right.
go in and open it like a C-section. And so because of where they were located on my uterus. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I was in the hospital for 4 days and then I was out of like they gave me medical leave for 20 days. At that point, I was just like a blob because of all the things. Like there were so many good things, all one on top of the other, and like I was dog sitting. So like I was saying right now, it's serendipitous that I'm talking about this is because not only did I have a friend in town, I had fucking agreed to dog sit when I
That's insane.
so it was all really good things, but like it was hard. May was really hard for me. It was wonderful, but hard. And then June, I was just recuperating from all that. And then I felt guilty because I didn't get anything done. But I was like, my body needed rest in my mind. And then like July and August roll around, and like I had like my mother-in-law, and I had a bunch of stuff. My father-in-law just died in February of this year, and it's been a really big impact on our family. And so the summer was really rough because we basically were like taking care of my mother-in-law, whom I love very, very much. She felt really bad. And then we felt bad that she felt bad. So it was just like this cycle of all of us like, feeling bad when in reality, we all just love each other and want each other to be happy.
Yeah.
But so it was just like that. But so I love her and everything, but it was still a hard summer, right? Like if you saw my stories, it looked like I was just at the beach all summer, but I wasn't. I was working and I was taking care of her and like running appointments and like just trying to stay sane throughout the process, like my husband not being himself because of grief and all the things,
Hmm.
and then I have a bunch of crazy shit happening at my job, which I will like not even talk about right now because we'll see. It's currently like we're figuring it out, but that's one good thing about Italy is that like when you have a certain type of contract, they can't fire you, or like it's really hard, like it's like
Right.
on the US they'll be like pack your shit and go, like no, they
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do that
yeah.
here. So there's a whole process. So I don't know if I'm getting fired or not, and I'm happy to say that because you know what, like whenever the hell this comes out, like I did not realize how much I wanted to not work there anymore, but I'm not quitting because then I don't get like benefits, right?
Hmm.
But like I had never done anything to try to get fired, anyway, listen, I can't, no, I got to stop right now because like there's otherwise I'll start telling things, and I actually want to tell this my way another time once it's behind me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I got stories on stories on stories, and if you're watching this and you live in Florence, just remember that I'm a write everything down.
Yes.
Everything. Just give me a minute. I'm processing, but it's coming.
By now, the listeners are like hearing all these things that you've like been through. And this whole platform, I like love it because it's giving an opportunity for like everyday people to just share their stories and how resilient we as humans really are. We just need to take into consideration what we've been through and really pinpoint those situations out to realize like we're remarkable people, we're resilient.
Yeah, and like acknowledge ourselves, right? Like we need
Yes,
to like I just really think that people tend to make it seem like when you acknowledge like what you've done, you're like bragging or something. And it's like, no, actually, like humans thrive off community. Like we need to be accepted by the in crowd. And our brain does everything that it can to make sure that we're accepted. That's why people like sometimes stay in really shitty job situations because of the status that it provides for them, right? And their brain somehow like
yeah,
helps them like compartmentalize it so that they can continue to do it day in day out, you know. And like or like people who are in an abusive relationship, you know, like I like used to judge them and be like, oh my god, I would just leave. But it's like once you live a little longer and you meet other people who have been in these kinds of situations, you're just like, wow, like it can really truly happen to anyone, you know.
yeah,
And like sometimes the strong people are the ones that stay because they don't want to be perceived as anything but strong. And it's like
that's
if you
true.
and it's like so there's like so many stigmas all the time. And so I'm always telling Salvatore, like, and he at first he was like starting to get sick of it, but now he's like embraced it. That I'm just like, because it's what? It's whose fault? White supremacist patriarchy. Like, and I used to be scared to say that, you know? I used to be like, oh shit, like I don't want like people to get upset. But it's like, you know who gets upset at that? The white supremacist patriarchy people. That's who gets
Ye-
upset at it. The people who are white and they're not white supremacists, they're just like, yeah, fuck that shit. So, so it's like I'm gonna say it now, and I'm like, and it's gonna make you uncomfortable, and you better get used to it because you should be uncomfortable. And
yeah.
so, how do you dismantle it? By fucking calling it out. Anyway.
Yeah. I love how your husband's just going along with like your ball of energy, your beautiful chaotic ball of energy that you have. Like,
He's a gem. Well, I would love to talk about him like for sure another time. And like I'm happy to come back, and I'm also like inspired to really share all these things because I have, as you can see, I have a lot of stories that I want to tell, and I love telling
yes.
them. And I've been wanting to have a blog for like a really long time, and I do have the website that you're going to share, like esmeraldasroad.com, but it's very, very bare. And I made it last year, and actually like I need to like update it with the fact that once we got home in August like last year from the US, we were there for 1 month. We immediately became caregivers to my father-in-law who had cancer, and then he died. And like it all through September we were in denial. It was like September 20 something, I think, the first time I ever said the word cancer. And like we really tried to like avoid it for as long as we could. And then by October 5th, they had moved here from Calabria because the medical system down there, it's like a whole different world. And so here, they had a lot of like really good doctors. And not only that, but there's like this association, they're angels. And I'm going to shout out. Oh, you asked me associations that I didn't think of any, but shout out to ANT. It's Associazione Nazionale di Tumori. So it's like the National Association of Tumors.
Hmm.
Like I'm going to volunteer for them. Like I'm going to do things with them. I'm not sure all what I can do, but I will because they were angels. They came here. They would come. He had a nurse that would come almost every single day, and a doctor who would come like 3 times a week, and free psychologists that would come here to the house for him and for my mother-in-law. And then we had a free psychologist as well, except we had to go to their office. But it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like you know, he got blood transfusions in this house. Like I thought he was gonna die in this bed,
Oh my
like
gosh.
on my side of it. I really thought he was gonna go here, but the medical system is so good here that they didn't let him go one day, like in the hospital. They just one day were like, we can't let him leave because I guess it had gone to like his brain. And it was just like the 1 year anniversary of this day, like just a few days ago or something like I just shared the picture. It's like my last post on my Instagram with him. It's a bunch of pictures of him. And like, I think the last one is like a selfie. I had snuck in to take that selfie because of COVID. You could only have one guest for like a certain period of time. And it was my mother-in-law that day. So while she was visiting with him, I was talking to the doctors and getting the news and then having to process the news myself,
Yeah.
like being in shock that he wasn't going to be able to come home with us. I had to process that. And then I had to tell his mom and I had to tell my husband and his sister. So like I had a mini breakdown in the hallway and then I had to compose myself. And then I went and I took that selfie. So you can see in the selfie that I'm like, I had been crying. And then I had to go like, so it was just like, so then, like I said, one day they just didn't let him go. And they ended up like, they asked, like, do you want to transfer him down to somewhere in Calabria because he has to go to hospice? And they told him that. But then when the doctors were like, they were just like, oh, we didn't really think that you were going to consider that because like he wouldn't survive that ride. And so it wasn't even an option in reality. And so it sounds really weird to say, but we were so lucky that he was here and that he was taken to this state of the art hospice. To me, and I want to tell his story, like I want to write an epic novel about my family and an epic novel about his family. And so like, and I want to write several books. So like it's all in there. It's all inside of me and it'll come out eventually. And I know that this is something that I will eventually write somewhere and share somewhere. But he was like the son, he was like an illegitimate son, you know?
Okay.
And so like he had his mother's last name and he was an immigrant. Like he worked in Switzerland for 25 years and his own father worked in Brazil. So they're just like a family of immigrants. And so he grew up very blue collar, but provided for his children, like his Salvatore and his sister and his mom. And his mom just like didn't know how to drive. And she just would like clean houses and like take care of the kids. And then like finally he just literally broke his back in construction. Like he worked in construction in Switzerland. And finally he just like broke his back, had so many surgeries that they couldn't fix anything. And then he was just like, he stopped working. Mm-hmm. And so Salvatore had been going to university to architect school. And then he stopped going to school and started working so that he could help his family. So the fact that this man who sacrificed his entire life and also came from poverty, the fact that he ended up for free, you know, or paid for by the tax dollars in this state of the art, beautiful private room with a gorgeous courtyard and his wife able to spend the night in this very comfortable bed next to him. That's literally the ideal situation for like the worst thing that happens, you know?
Yeah.
So for anybody who goes to my website, the reason that I'm still here blabbing and it's like, I got to go soon. And thank you, Roxy, for the time and everything. Like, but the reason that I'm still sharing this is that you might go to my website and be like, okay, like she said that she has stuff to do. Like, yeah, bitch, I've been busy, you know, dealing with actual life, you know, like with death, you know, and like what that entails. Not only that, but like my whole work situation is tied into all of this, you know, it's all interrelated, you know? So it's like, I've had a rough year and not just this year, but last year, like, it's just been rough. Not just me, I'm sure a lot of people, but like, that's why I haven't shared more in my website. And I will eventually post like one update. I always feel like I have to like share all the background. I don't know. And I might just like somehow break through that and start posting things without having shared background. Mm-hmm. Point is that's why that website looks like a little bit abandoned because it says like my newborn site and it's like August of last year that it was made, you know. I am currently working on things and I'm hoping to get them out, you know. I mean, right now we're in an eclipse. I think today, Friday the 13th, and it's Friday the 13th. It's like, we didn't even talk about anything spiritual or anything bruja, but like, I feel like the signs are there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like I've been busy, but I have a lot of really fun, I think, ideas that I want to roll out that I think will be useful for people. And so I'm really excited that we're having this because hopefully by the time that you put it out, I'll already have shared a little bit about it on my socials, but if not, it's coming.
So what's funny, and it's coincidentally, this episode, yes, we're filming on Friday the 13th, but this episode is going to be released November 1st. So, fun fact is that there's an organization called International Stress Management Association, and the month of November is International Stress Awareness. Well, it's not a month, it's the first week, right? And this year they dubbed November 1st as the highlight as Stress Awareness Day on Wednesday, November 1st, which is when this episode's going to release. So you, with all like these stories that have put you in such high stress like situations and where you come out so resilient, like what's that one piece of advice you would want our listeners to hear and have that takeaway from all this?
Give yourself permission to do the cringy thing. And that cringy thing might be like saying, oh shit, I have some healing to do. That word was a dirty word for me for a really long time. I didn't want to say I'm healing. Yeah. I didn't want to say that for such a long time. And it's sad thinking about it now. And I'm sorry if you feel gross when you say that, you know, to whoever's listening. I'm so sorry that if you think I have to heal, if that gives you the ick, I'm sorry. And it's not your fault. It's society. It's capitalist society that needs you to feel like you're not enough, that you're not doing enough. And that if you tell people that you're really not doing, you're not enough, and that you're going to be seen as an outsider, in reality, that's exactly what we need to be doing, is supporting each other as community, right? So like, give yourself permission to do the cringy thing and like read the self-help books, you know, find out which affirmations feel right for you. Because I had to find the self-help book that didn't feel cringy, you know, like there's that one called, like, this is not like, or I don't know, it's something about like, this is not a fucking self-help book or something like that. I can't remember. I'll find it and I'll send it to you so you can share it. Yeah. There's like some book, like he just talks about it in a really like, you know, chill way. But at the end of the day, you just have to let yourself go there. Like, let yourself like realize that like, even though nothing crazy happened in your life, trauma can also be the things that you did not get. And I will like, you know, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, you know, so educate yourself. Like listen to the things that explain, because maybe what I needed, like what I thought I needed was I thought I needed to have the language to explain all the trauma in a really like, you know, educated way.
Right.
And so that I was justifying, like, so that people could understand, like, I'm this way because I went through all this trauma and it was like this, and this. I thought I had to know all these details. No, you can just not be okay and like, try to figure out what the fuck that means for you. Yeah. How are you not okay? Why? What do you need? And is that really what you need? Or do you just think you need that because that's what society tells you need when that happens? You know what I mean? Like I got diagnosed with anxiety and ADHD, like separately. So like I thought I didn't know I had anxiety. And I was like sniffing like essential oils and like clutching my crystals. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I'm fine. Like, clutching my crystals and sniffing my fucking essential oils like no other, like yeah. You know? And so, yeah, I fucking needed as a goddamn psychiatrist. So like, I went to, you know, and I share all of this in the show. Like, so none of this is like private information. I've shared all the therapies. I've shared all the things, you know, and it took me a long time to even like accept. So anxiety, I accepted. And then it took me a long time to even like consider ADHD. But when I went, the doctor was like, hell yeah, you have it. And here, you have to have a huge process of testing. So he's like, you have it. He's like, I can't tell you how bad you have it yet, but you have it. And I was just like, and I'm still processing that. And I got that in September of 2021 was my diagnosis for ADHD. And I'm still learning like what that means for me and how it affects me on a day-to-day basis. And it influences my business a lot, like the offers that I'm going to get. So I'm excited to share all that. So I'm sorry. I know you said one thing, but it's all related. Everything is related. I always say this.
that it's totally fine. And aside from that organization that I mentioned, that the International Stress Management Association, I'll also post the organization that you mentioned that helped your father-in-law. In the show notes, I'll also put how you can reach out to Patricia through Instagram and also follow her Esmeralda's Road website, which I'm curious how that name came out.
So my name is Patricia Esmeralda Estrada. So my
Okay.
middle name's Esmeralda, and because I was born on St. Patrick's Day, so my parents
Oh.
like hadn't named me yet, obviously, because they're Latino, and they so like on the day of, I guess. They're just like, oh, St. Patrick's Day, Patricia. And what else is green and pretty? Esmeralda.
That's so
So my middle
crazy.
name's Esmeralda, and my last name is Estrada, which I didn't know until I moved to Brazil. That Estrada is like road,
Oh,
like
wow.
it's like yeah, it's a way, a path,
Yeah.
and so Esmeralda's road because it's yeah. So I just like that's how I figured that name out.
Perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect. I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
took me a long time. Yeah, thank you. I love it too. It took me a while, and so and I love it because I'm never going to change it because it's me,
Yeah.
And so and I do love the name Esmeralda, but like if somebody calls me Esmeralda, I know they don't know me. Like, you
That's
might
so
see me on the street, but you don't know me.
now I love your energy. We're definitely gonna have to do this again. Maybe with your
I'm
sister-in-law.
happy to do
But
it again.
I
Yes.
had
Oh my
so
God.
much.
Can you imagine that even more energy?
But to close off,
Anyway,
because I know you have plans and all, but to close off,
sorry.
as you know, no, you're good. I have this Spotify playlist, Rocks with Me, the playlist, where I'm adding songs, guests, suggest. So what's that one song, or if you have more than one, that gets you pumped up
Okay.
that you want to share?
Okay, like pumped up. Like if I'm gonna do something that I really want to feel good about, let me think. Yeah, it depends on the situation, right? Because it could either be like a reggaeton song, so where I start
Okay.
dancing and like, or like a Shakira song, some one of her like, really dancey, like nice ones. Like maybe who knows, like She Wolf is really powerful type of song. Um, but like, yeah, I don't know. I'm blanking on like another more like inspirational song, which is what I feel like I need to name. But like for now, I'm just gonna leave it with that because I really love like reggaeton and stuff. Oh wait, I will leave it with this one because when I'm mad and I'm like, you don't even know who the fuck you're dealing with, it's
Yeah.
always Bow Down by Ice Cube. It's
Okay.
always Bow Down.
Love it.
Anyway, so yeah, no, that's yeah, like I actually want to do karaoke really bad, and that's like one of my top songs that I always want to do when I when I do
That's
karaoke.
awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I'll definitely add that to the
Okay,
playlist.
but
But
yeah,
thank you so
thank you
much
so
for taking
much.
the time. I really enjoyed learning and hearing your story, and I can't wait to like hear more and follow you and buy your books in the future. I'm already,
Thank you so much. Yeah,
getting
because like I feel like I'm in the actually I don't feel like I am. Like I just looked at the astrology and like these eclipses that we're dealing with right now. Like this one today is actually the beginning of something. And then the one that's going to happen on the 22nd, when there's a full moon, it's the end of the ones that started back in 2021. So, like, it's this 2 year cycle that's closing. And so, I was about to say, like, I feel like I'm in this moment where I'm about to start something new. And it's like, no, I don't just feel it, it is. And it's
yes,
like I really I'm vibrating with it, because it's been building up, and things always seem like they're overnight. And I really think that I'm at the cusp of something right now. And so this is really nice to get to talk to you because I get to like embrace that energy, like I get to like I'm excited to look at this again later, later this year, later next year, later in life and see where I'm at and just like, reminisce because this energy is really special. And like the fact that you open the space up just for me to be me,
yeah,
and like one of my affirmations that like all of y'all should use that I started using a few years ago, like because this is what the kind of life that I want is like, I'm constantly attracting lucrative opportunities that are easy for me to deliver on. Like it is an extremely exact worded affirmation because
yes,
before I was like, oh, I need more, I need lucrative work, but then it was hard work. And I was
yeah,
like, wait a minute, nah, I need easy work, lucrative, easy work. Let me be clear. And I feel like, and so like that's evolved into me realizing that I just want to get paid to be me. And it's like, I don't think that, and I'm sorry if that sounds cocky, but like you just heard everything I told you. Like when I tell people these things and I see their faces, like especially places like here that people haven't traveled a lot, you know, like I realized like, wow, you really could live vicariously through me. And like, I'm like, why am I like holding that? Like, why am I like keeping that away from people? You know, it's because I'm processing.
Yes. No,
so anyway, thank you for this opportunity. And I look forward to talking to you again with Veronica. Without her, I look forward to doing other things together. Because I'm really excited for you and everything that you're doing. And I love to learn, you know, more about you. I like that you have all these different kinds of podcasts in this one. I'm sorry, like we're closing out, but I do want to tell you this. I think it's very cool because I don't want to listen to all of them. And you know that, and you said that. And you invited us. You were like, it's cool if you don't want to listen to like the murder. What do you call the one?
The true crime.
You know what I'm talking about. The murder one.
Yeah.
There you go. That one. That's how not true crime I am. And I was just like the murder ones. So like, you know, and then there's the book club and, you know, and then, so I'm excited because it keeps you wanting to know more about you. I'm like, okay, well, when am I going to get to know more about you? You know? And so like, that's what I'm waiting for, you know? And but it's really good because like, it gives, it's inspirational for me because I have a lot of topics that I want to talk about too. And I don't know how to incorporate it. And so it's nice to see you just like, you're like, I got all these different like tastes, like all these things that I like, and I'm just gonna put a different episode out for each of those things. And if you rock with me, you rock with me. If you don't, you don't. Like, exactly. So I really like that. So thank you.
because it's true because every podcast, every TV show, every something has like a generalized like one passion, one topic,
like one idea like, type of thing.
One, you know.
Yeah. And these interviews, like they show that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I really do have to go now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to talk to you again.
Bye. Now, for all you listeners still rocking with me at the end of this episode, this is your reminder that you are remarkable, you are resilient, and I am proud of you. Thanks for tuning in. Back to the mic.